Alright, I'm ready to start up, so if you'd follow the directions as they're given up on the screen here, go out to the P drive for the class. Alright, copy the folder 126.15. From there, copy it to your virtual desktop, start up Visual Studio 13, and then we'll take it from there. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that, please. Again, if you just came in, go out to the P drive for this class, go out to the in-class folder, and you'll find there's a folder with today's date on it, 01/26/2015. Please take that folder and just drag it over to your desktop. Right mouse click and drag on it and choose copy here. So just copy it to your desktop and then start up Visual Studio 2013, please, and then we'll take it from there in just a minute. Okay. Okay. And if you look up on the screen here, just so you know what's in there, is some of the stuff that we're going to be working on and some of the stuff that you're going to be assigned. So there's a thing in there, I'll go over all this later, that says Chapter 3 Executable, MPG. Don't worry about either one of those for right now. The BMI and the exit button code, we're going to use both those today. So you'll see what I mean by that in just a few minutes. So again, if you just came in, go out to the P drive for the class, copy the folder with today's date on it over to your virtual desktop, start up Visual Studio 13, and then I'm going to give you instructions after that. Those are the instructions in just a second. We're going to do a program as a class. I'm going to give you every line to key in. That program will be assigned. So in other words, you will have to get it running and turned in. For the people, right now it's 8:06. There's 21 in the class and 14 are here. Those people are going to have to watch the tape or figure it out on their own. I'm going to ask you to build an interface. Okay, in just a second, I'm going to put it on the screen. Now, what's going to sound a little weird. I'm going to take the headphones off for a second. What's going to sound a little weird is when you create the interface, I want you to throw the controls up there kind of in a weird manner. There is a reason for it. I will show you the reason as we go on. But normally, this is going to be your interface. Label, 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 text box, text box, text box, button, button, button. Okay? Now, if I was creating the interface, what I very well might do is put on my 3 labels, then my 3 text boxes, then my 3 buttons. Or the 3 buttons, or whatever. But what I'm going to ask that you do, and there's a reason for it, what I'm going to ask that you do is throw a label out there, then throw a button out there, then throw a text box, then do it again, then do it again. I want you to do it in that order. I'm going to show you how to change the tab order automatically. All right, so there's a reason, and I'm asking you to do it in what almost looks like a half-assed manner. All right. Now I'm taking for granted that everybody here has had time to get into the virtual desktop, to start up Visual Studio 13, and this is what I want you to create. I don't care about the color, and I know it doesn't resonate that well. Let me make this a little bit lighter. I know it might be kind of hard to see, especially from the back, so. All right. Those are the those are the names that I want you to give the controls. I don't want it literally to say button calculate, button clear. We'll change these later, but those are the names that I want you to give the controls. Does that make sense? So build it this way. So like throw out that label, then that button, then that text box, label, button, text box, label, button, text box. I'd like you to do it like that. I think it'll mean more to you as we go on if you do it that way. All right, and then give them these names. We're going to change, when we get started, we'll change what the text is on each one of these buttons. We won't have any text in the text boxes, and the labels will all change in just a couple minutes. But that's what I want you to change, to do right now. It's 8:08. I'm going to give you till about 8:15 or so to build the interface. Again, I'll give you about 5 more minutes to make this interface. I really should have done is the program we're doing is a body mass index program. I should have had you call this BMI. You may have called it something else. You may have even not given it a name, and that's okay for right now. All right. Let's see. Give you about 1 more minute to finish up. So build the interface and please name the controls accordingly as they're shown up here. No, that's just the name I want you to give. We're going to change all this in just a couple minutes. Alright, so if you look up on the screen here, just a couple things. When I build an interface, when I start working on a problem, I like to create the form. I like to change the color of the form right away. You don't have to do that. Alright? And then I like to start putting on my controls, etc., and then renaming my controls. Well, if you look up here, first thing I did was I went to the form, single-clicked on the form, and changed the name of the form to Form BMI. And I think that's a pretty decent name for it. It's Body Mass Index. So I'd like you to also please go and change the name of your form. So single-click anywhere there's a blank spot on the form, go up to the name category here and type in Form BMI, as I'm showing up on the screen right there. Remember, that's the name that we use to refer to the form in code if we have to do that. Alright, after you've changed the name to Form BMI, go down to the text property, and you go, oh, I can't read that. It's right here. Change the text property to Form BMI dash chapter space 3 space program space 6 space body space mass space index. So what you see up here where I've got the mouse, again, make sure that's the text property, not the name property. So this is Form BMI, capital F, little ORM, capital B, capital M, capital I, that's the name, and the text should be what's right here. Now, just so you know, I'm not going on yet, but just so you know, if you look up on the screen here, one of the things that's in this folder that I asked you to copy over is a completed executable of the program. In other words, that's what our program will look like when we're all done. All right? Now, don't worry that this text is a little different. That doesn't matter, but the point is, watch when I click Calculate. It comes up and it says Input Error, Non-Numeric Value. And if I put in a real huge value, it's going to say it's out of range. All right, but eventually we'll set it up so if we put in 72 for a height and we type in 200 for a weight, and it'll tell us our BMI. That's what we want to get to in just a couple minutes. All right, or by the end of the period. When we click Clear, we'll want the stuff on the screen to clear. And when we click Exit, you've seen this before. So that's what we're shooting for by the end of the period today. So, if you look up here, hopefully everybody's caught back up, but if you look up here, again, notice what it says, label height, text box height, label weight, text box weight, label BMI, text box BMI, button calculate, button clear, button exit. Those are the name properties for each one. Well, that would be silly to run a program and have all this stuff showing in here like this. That's not what we want to show in here. So in other words, we're going to want this to say height, this to say weight, and that to say BMI. And then we're going to want this to be blank, this to be blank, this to be blank. This will say calculate, that'll say clear, and that'll say exit. Now with what I just said, I'm going to show them to you and they'll be up there. Is there anything that I just mentioned to you that doesn't make any sense? Alright, so I'm going to click first on the label height, and I'm going to change it so that the text, instead of saying label height, just says height with a colon by it. Alright, then I'm going to do the same thing to weight. And, oops, that was pretty bad. And then BMI. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Oh well. So in other words, if you look up on the screen, those are the changes I want you to make right there. So again, I will expect when you do your programs, you will name your controls accordingly, including your form, your buttons, your text boxes, your labels, etc. And you'll give the form some kind of a meaningful heading at the top. All right, we haven't even talked code yet. We're going to get there in just a bit. A couple more things we want to do first. Now, if you look at your screen, if you're happy with the way that it looks, the way things are laid out right now, then remember you can hold down on your left mouse button, go up near the upper left-hand corner, hold down on the left mouse button, drag down so everything is highlighted. Then go over to the locked thing that's in there, and you can set locked from false to true. Then you don't have to worry about stuff moving around on your screen if you do that. You'll get the little locks right there. And if you go, no, I like doing that, well then, don't do it. It's not that this is something you have to do. Now just a couple more things, and then we'll actually be ready to start writing some code. All right? The first thing, if you look up on the screen right here, I'm going to have you do some of this. So if yours doesn't look exactly like this when it runs, don't worry about it yet, okay? But if I type in, for example, for height 72, and I type in for weight 225, and I click the calculate button, well, right now it doesn't work because there's no code in it. But it's going to come up and say something like this, 31.18, all right? Which is in the obese category, which is about where I am right now. So I don't like that. So as it stands right now, I can say, you know what? That means you've got a BMI of 20. I'd like to say that, but that's not really how it works. So what I'm getting to with you is I want to put some input in here. I want to put some input in here. I want to click the button, and I want to have some output go in here. Does that make sense to everyone? There's two things that I can do right here. I could have made this a label instead of a text box. I could have done that. Or I could do what I'm going to have us do in just a second. And that is, I want you to take your mouse and put it don't double click or it'll bring up the code window. Single click where it says in the text box by BMI. So single click in there. And look over at your properties and notice, again, they're alphabetized. So if I go down near the bottom, there's a property there that says read only. And it's set to false. Well, I want to set it to true so that when I click the calculate button, I won't be able to change the result that goes in there. You'll notice that when I change it, if you look up on the screen here, when I change it from false to true, it turns gray. Now, if you don't like that color, if you don't like that gray color, you can always go back up to back color and change it to something else. All right, you can always do that. But again, the property in there, the property is read only. You want to set read only to true. I'd like you to do that right now, please, for the BMI text box, or text box BMI, I guess. Now notice again, if you look up on the screen, notice now that if I run the program again after doing this, I can put whatever I want to here, but I can't put anything in there because it's read only. All right. A couple more things I'd like to do before we start. First of all, your labels that you have here, yours may be left justified because labels by default are. If you want them right justified so they're kind of pushed over a little bit like mine are, right? I guess that should have said BMI with a colon by it, but If you want them right justified, those labels, you can highlight all of them by drawing that invisible lasso around them. And then you can go down into your properties, and right under text, it says text align. I've got mine set to middle right. And that's the second row, the rightmost one. You know, again, how do you learn about these? You play with them a little bit. That's all. All right. Now, I didn't do this, but I wish I would have, since that's got height colon and weight colon. I should really probably have that one say BMI colon. So, if you did it, fine. If you didn't do it, fine. Again, almost ready to put in code. Just a few more things that we want to do. All right. If you look up on the screen here, again, single click in some blank spot on the form. Single click, not double, because it brings up the code window. Single click in a blank spot on the form, and go down, again, real close to the bottom in your properties window. And yours says Windows default location. I know it does, unless you've changed it. We're going to change that to center screen, which means when the program runs, we want it to come up right in the middle of our screen. Again, that's just a little nicety that you can do. People always ask, well, are you going to take off if I don't do that? You know, when people ask questions like that, you sound like my kids. And you sound like my kids when they were young, when I wanted to smack them when they asked stuff like that. Okay? Any questions on what we've done so far? There's like 2 more things we're going to do, and then we're going to start writing code. Now, I want this program, and I told you this the other day, but we want it to work today, and we had some problems with it the other day. When I want this program that as soon as I put a value in here and I put a value in here, I want to be able to hit enter, and I want that button to be pushed without me clicking it. All right? Or if I put a number in here and I put a number in here and I don't want them there anymore, I want to be able to hit my escape key, and I want the clear to happen. You understand what I said? But I want it to happen without clicking the buttons. So if I, again, single mouse click someplace on the form, and I go up right near the top of my properties window, you'll notice that there's something up there that's called accept button. And if you click on the down arrow there, you click on it, the down arrow will appear. If you click on the down arrow, it'll show you your buttons. And we want to choose button calculate for the accept button. That's what I've done. And if you've been able to do that, if you go down a little bit further, again, it's alphabetized. There's one called cancel button. We want to set cancel button to button clear. So I just set accept button to button calculate. Now I want to go down to where it says cancel button, and I want to choose button clear for that one. All right, one more thing to do, then it's time to write code. It's right near the top. It's got to be the form that's got to be out there. It's got to say form BMI in your properties window. You go up right near the top, it's about the 3rd or 4th thing down. You don't have one? Try clicking the one next to your lightning bolt there. Try clicking the button that's right here next to your lightning bolt, if that doesn't show where it says properties. All right. If you look up on the screen, please. When I run my program right now, because I set it up in kind of this horse's ass type of way, notice when I start hitting my tab key what happens. I don't know if you can tell this, but you can see where the mouse is going. So it's going from here, and it's jumping down to here, and it's going back to here, etc. In other words, it's all screwed up, the tab order. That's why I asked you to put your controls in a screwed up manner. All right, what I'd like to have happen is I'd like when the program starts, I like the cursor to be right there. Some people are used to running programs and hitting tab. So I want to tab. I want to have it start there. When I tab, I want it to go there. Then when I tab again, I want it to go there. When I tab again, I want it to go there. When I tab again, I want it to go there. Those are the only 5 things that matter in the program. The rest of them, you can't technically tab to a label, and you can tab to a read-only text box, but you can't change its value. So I'm going to change the tab order to here, 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 to here. Now, first I want to show you the horse's ass way of doing it. Okay? So I could take my mouse, put it over here, and you'll notice if I go down far enough, there's a thing that says tab index. So I could set it there, and I could set each one of them. And you can do that, and there's not a problem with doing that, except it's a pain in the ass. Pardon my French, but it is. So instead, click some blank space on the form, and go in under View, and about 3/4 of the way down, you'll see something that says Tab Order. I've got it showing on the screen right here. When you choose that, you'll get a bunch of numbers. As soon as you click on it, you'll get a bunch of numbers, and don't worry about them for just a second. Anybody have a problem finding that? So I'm going to click on it and choose Tab Order. Now, I told you I want the order to go from here, if you look up on the screen, here to here, 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 here. So I click them in the order I want them to go. There's 0, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Does that make sense what I just did? All right. If you goofed up, you might have to start over again or whatever. It's really not hard. And the problem that some people run into when they're doing this is you overthink things. And you're making things harder than they really have to be. What that means, if you look up on the screen here, when I start the program up, it should my cursor should be here. If I hit tab, it should go to here. If I tab again, tab again, tab again, tab again, tab again, tab again, and tab again. Does that make sense? And again, technically you can't even tab to these 3 things, but I just gave them a number anyway. It's fine. So 0 means the lowest. That means where you want to start, and then you just go in order. Now, the problem is I got all these numbers on the screen, so you just do another View, Tab Order, and they go away. Notice now when I run the program, notice now, there's my cursor. I'm going to tab, I'm going to tab again, I'm going to tab again, and again, and again. Okay, so now it's in a good tab order. These are just nice little amenities, whatever you want to call them, aesthetics. We're trying to make his life as easy as possible for the person running the program. All right. So again, there's no code in here yet, but ideally at least, we've got our interface built, our controls have been named, our interface controls have been locked, we've set the tab order, all right, we've set our cancel button, and we've set our accept button. Everybody cool with that? Everybody understand that? All right, now we're ready to go in and actually start adding some code. The order in which we do these is up to us, but I'm going to start with the exit button. All right, so I'm going to double click on my exit button, and that's going to bring up this. Don't worry, accidentally when I started, I double clicked for these 2 controls, so I've got them up there. I'm not going to use those at all. Don't worry about them. All right, one of the things I asked you to copy in today that was in that folder that I asked you to copy, this folder right here. That folder, if you go back to it, if you did copy it, there's all that code for the exit button in it. You can type it in if you want to, but I don't want to. So I'm going to copy it to my clipboard. I'm going to go back to my program here, and I'm just going to paste it in. So I'll give you a second to do that. Again, if you missed that, what I wanted you to do at the beginning of the period today, I told you to go over and copy that folder over. If you copied over the folder as I asked you to, you should be able to double click on it. Then one of the files that's in there is exit button code. If you double click on that, it brings it up probably in Notepad. Just highlight all of it however you do highlighting. Alright, copy it to the clipboard and then paste it into your program, and make sure where you paste it into your program is right there. So right now I put it right after the first curly brace in my button exit click program or routine. Now what have I done? Well, I think you all know this, but if I run the program again, now I can click the exit button if you look up on the screen, and it says, do you want to exit the program or close the form? And if I say no, I stay there. If I say yes, now I can close it. All right? And hopefully that makes sense to you. Again, this is something you're going to do in virtually every single program that you do. You're going to do that. Questions? Again, this is how I choose to create my interface. Most of the hard code is going to go in the calculate. So I like to get the other stuff out of the way first. All right? Now, if you look up on the screen here, the next button that I want to put the code in for is the clear. But before I double click it to bring that up, there's 4 things that I want to do when this button's clicked. If you look up on the screen here, there's 4 things I want to do. I want to take whatever is in here and clear it out. I want to take whatever is in here and clear it out. I want to take whatever is in here and clear it out. And then I want my mouse, because I want to make it as easy for the person running the program as possible, I want to take my mouse or my cursor and put it back there. Does that make sense? So I want to clear it, clear it, clear it, put the cursor there. Those are the 4 actions that I want to do. All right? So I'm going to double click that. And I'm going to let the IntelliSense help me here. So I've got my text box. And it doesn't matter the order in which you do these, but I'll just do them in the order I had them. So height dot text equals double quote, weight, that's it. We'll go over exactly what these mean in just a second. If you look up on the screen here, this double quote is referred to as the empty string. That means totally zero out and remove whatever is there. So I'm saying remove what's ever in my height text box, remove what's ever in my weight text box, remove what's ever in my BMI text box, and then give me the focus, which means where do I want the cursor to currently appear. So I want it to appear in by the height. So you'll notice if I run this, and I'll come right back to the code, but if I run this, there's my cursor. So if and again, there's no checks in here yet, so I can put whatever I want to put in here. I can't put anything there because it's read-only. There's nothing in my calculate yet. I can exit, but I don't want to. But now notice if I click clear, these should both disappear, and my cursor should appear here when I get done. So I'll put the cursor there just so you can see where it is. Clear, and boom, it all works. All right, so the only thing that we have to worry about yet, okay, is this calculate button. And we're going to do that, but before we do that, we're going to do one more thing, which I should have probably had you do at the beginning, but I didn't. Again, in that file, in that folder that I had you copy over at the beginning of the class, there also is a file in there that's called BMI. And if you double click on that, that's got the comment that I took right out of the book. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. And I'm going to go back to my program, and I like to put it right where you see here, right under your using statements. So paste it in right there. There's some documentation in your program then, which is kind of nice. And again, I took this right out of the book. We'll go for about 10 more minutes, then we'll take a 10-minute break. You know, as you start typing this in between the comments and the using statements and what we've done so far, there is somewhere around 130 lines in the program. And people hear that and they're like, huh? But we've already typed in probably close to half of them. Or we had them put in for us by the using statements or whatever. All right? So you should be able to, again, a good time if you haven't done so, to click that double disk icon to do a save all. You all should be able to run your program then. And once you run it, at a minimum, what should work, if you put some garbage in here, all right, the clear button should work, the exit button should work, okay? And also, if I put some stuff in there now, hopefully this is going to work, if I hit the escape key, all right, there's my cancel button. Everybody see that? All right, so it removed it. It did the equivalent of a clear. So again, this is what we've got done thus far. We've coded up, technically, 2/3 of our program. So the only thing that's left to code up in here is the calculate button. All right? Yes. You need parentheses after it. Yeah. Mike's question was, do you need these parens? If you don't put it in there, it thinks focus is the name of a variable. By putting in paren, it knows that it's a name of a routine or a method. That's a built-in method. The bad thing is if you get used to using the IntelliSense, the IntelliSense doesn't always put those parens in for you. All right? So again, so far we put in the button exit code, and I gave you that, and we just had 4 lines right here. So what's left then is to click on or double click on our calculate button and start putting in that code. All right? So we're going to start putting this in. We won't get to all of it by the break, but we'll go, like I said, till about 8:55 on the clock here. We'll take a break till about 9:05, then we'll finish up. All right? Now, a couple things, just so you know. These are things I did. I put reasonableness checks into this program. In other words, I'm going to show you how to create constants right now. The first constant I put in was I said I'm going to assume that the minimum height of somebody running this program is 12 inches. And the maximum height is 96 inches. I don't know of anybody who's 8 feet, but that should handle everything. All right, just about. I also said that the minimum weight is going to be 1 pound. And the maximum weight, I just put in there 777. All right? I mean, there's all these shows on TV right now. It's like, oh my God, you know, I think I'm fat, but when I watch My 600-Pound Life, I don't want a show about me. All right? So, I'm going to put in constants for all of those. Also, if you look up on the screen here, here's the formula we're going to end up using in the end. All right? And that number, I'm also going to make a constant. You don't have to do that, but I'm doing it anyway. All right, so I'm going to make 5 constants: a minimum height, a maximum height, a minimum weight, a maximum weight, and that BMI constant. By convention, you don't have to do this, but what everybody does is when you create a constant, you put that constant in uppercase, because that sends kind of a subliminal message to anybody running your program that, oh, I shouldn't be changing that value. I shouldn't jack with it. Its value is constant. All right, so I'm going to put those in right now, right here. So I'm just going to put a little thing here, a little comment that says, declare program constants. All right, I'm going to do that right now. You use the word const, and notice how it turns blue. That means it's a constant. I'm going to make all of these integers or whole numbers. And that should be 12.1. If you look up on the screen right here, the reason that those things are in green, they're not, it's not an error, but right now what the system is telling me is I've created 5 constants that I'm not using in the program. So if I put my mouse over here, it says the variable min height is assigned, but its value is never used. As we go into the program, we will be using those values, and all of those will go away. All right? So now that I've created my constants, I'm going to declare my program variables. And there will be 3 of them. They're not constants. So now I've got even more stuff with squiggly lines underneath it. One more thing, and I'm going to give you a break. If you look up on the screen here, does it make sense to people? Please take a look at what's in gray here. That value that you see up on the screen that's in gray, that's the value that's going to hold this. All right? That value right here, that's the value that's going to hold this. And finally, that value right here is the one that's going to hold this. So what we want to do, we've already got it set up that when we press exit, it asks us if we want to exit, and if we do, it allows us to. Okay? And if we say no, it keeps us there. When we clear, we're removing, and putting the cursor there. Now we've created our variables for here, but what I did, we're going to write a little bit more code than you would normally. All right? So when we come back from the break, I'm going to show you, all right? Actually, we're just going to go into it right away. We're going to try to set it up so we're going to idiot-proof this program from the start. So in other words, if you put in numbers that are in there that are out of range or non-numeric numbers, we're not going to allow the program to continue. Does that make sense? We're going to try to idiot-proof it from the get-go. So let's take a break. Let's come back, please. Let's make it 5 after 9.